John, we're at Cadland Stables, your yard. It's absolutely stunning. The location is incredible, and there's so much history here. So can we first go on a little bit of a history lesson? Why is it called Cadland Stables?
Cadland Stables came from a horse called Cadland that was, I think it was the 5th Duke of Rutland, his horse. And the reason the horse became so famous, because it's the only horse that has ever won the Derby twice, which most people say is impossible. But the English Derby back in the day obviously was run still at Epsom the same way. But it finished in a dead heat the year he won it. And back then they didn't have fancy cameras. So because it was gentlemen had large wages on these races, the way they resolved it was at the end of racing, the two horses in question had to race over the full distance in a match race, and the one that actually won the purse.
On the same day?
On the same day, at the end of racing, yes. So so basically, officially won it twice. So he won it in a dead heat and then won it singularly, yeah.
I imagine that on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire one day, or Eggheads, there will be a question for £1 million. There'll be who was the only horse to win.
Well, I think you'd have probably wanted to save that one for a day when you were trying to pull a stunt on.
Yeah, a bit of Charles,
exactly.
Charles Ingram coup.
Yeah.
And John, if we look at that building behind us, am I right in thinking that that was part of the original plans for Newmarket as a training centre in about 1778?
Yeah. So the barn actually was a solitary barn. Back long before that, when the kings and the gentry used to travel down from London to spend their summers here sporting, and the barn basically was built out of old clunch and clay for them to house the feed for the horses, the tack and stuff. Where the horses back then didn't have stables; they were tethered to stakes. So basically, the horses roamed free, and the important stuff, the tack and the feed, was kept in a barn, and the kings lavished in their palaces in the centre of town. So yeah, that was long obviously before this, and then the stables were built around these big buildings.
Right, it's amazing. It is so fascinating when you listen to, because obviously we know Newmarket is steeped in history, but when you come to it and you see it firsthand and you hear those stories of Cadland, etc., it's amazing. Right, John, we've come into one of the stables, and you're going to talk us through this contraption that's currently on this horse. So what are we looking at?
So this is basically a magnetic rug, but a powered magnetic rug. So the coils here are copper coils. They have an electric pulse fed through them, which creates a magnetic field between the muscles and the horses. So it's equal either side. So between that, it becomes a magnetic field, which helps release the stress from the muscles, helps speed up blood flow. So when horses have pulled muscles or strained muscles, it helps basically speed up recovery and speed up repair. You can't stop them happening, but it definitely soothes them, and especially some of these big horses that have had a lot of racing on the firmer ground. It helps loosen them up before they do their work in the morning.
Who would you put it? Would you put it on every horse, or just ones that are slightly feeling it?
Yeah, not necessarily every horse, because a lot of horses don't have any issues with that. But any horse that might seem a little bit tight in the mornings, or feel like they're tender through their back because they may have pulled a muscle. You get a lot of these injuries, let's say injuries, they're strains that are caused through literally horses jumping out the stalls. Horses are expected to go from 0 to 30 plus miles an hour in strides. And also because of that, you're asking a lot of pressure from behind to stretch those muscles. And afterwards, this just helps basically give them a massage. It's just giving them a full body massage without getting the oils and whatever that we get.
You don't have any sort of meditative music when they're doing it?
No. Well, probably the lads have their phones going most of the time, so they can probably hear some of that.
How long have you been using these?
We've used these now for probably, I would say, 8 years, I would say.
And have you seen real benefits
10 years, maybe,
in terms of recovery?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, horses that come back and from races that have had maybe been a tough race because the ground's been either too soft or too firm, they may be, you know, a little bit jarred up because of it. That definitely helps release them. You know, all it's doing is trying to speed up nature's recovery, but it's just trying to help them as well. You know, as much as we can use physios to help find issues, this is probably the only way we can do it, because there's no drugs or medical terms in using it at all. It's literally just a magnetic field which helps gently pulsate the muscle and help it release itself. Something that would probably be okay if you gave it 3 more weeks doing nothing, but this helps just keep things going so that you can keep working to an animal.
And where you are, I mean, I'm guessing every trainer must be so envious of you, because you literally open those black gates behind us.
Absolutely.
And there are the gallops. You are on Warren Hill.
We fall straight to the bottom of Warren Hill. It was seen a joke years ago that, you know, when Henry Cecil was flying his colours high, it was I was here at the bottom of the hill to stop him sliding back down. But yeah, I mean, it is probably the best training centre in the world anyway. But to be right in the centre of it, especially nowadays where traffic and things have to be taken into consideration, we don't actually have to get involved with any of it if we don't want to. So we're very blessed to be here.
But given that the town is a stone's throw that way, you've got the gallops this way. It's still really quiet here. I mean,
yeah,
you can. Strimmer in the background now.
You can literally walk through the front of the big house here, and you're on the high street, and yet you wouldn't know anybody's there, and you can see the horses are quite calm and relaxed. So yeah, they don't have to travel too far to do their work, so it's a little bit easier for them.
I love it, genuinely. I'm really blown away by this. I think it's fantastic. How did you end up here? How did the Ryan family end up here?
My father was lucky enough to be able to purchase the yard back in about 1979, and we moved here then. He started off with this side of the yard, and then the yard by that time was split into sections, like a lot of Newmarket was, and he managed to over the years reclaim the rest of it, and I'm lucky enough to be able to get this side. So yeah, hopefully we'll keep it in the family for a bit longer.